Do we only want what we can't have? No, that's absolutely ridiculous. We want what we want, but if we can't have it, that makes the wanting hurt. And wanting should be glorious. It should be exhilarating. But when you want something and you can't have it, it hurts. And so the pain makes the wanting more salient. And so when we can't have something, we think about the wanting more. It doesn't create the want. However, we want things the most when we feel like there's a pretty good chance that we could probably have them, but we're not quite sure. Hello, my name is Lainey, and I am a former psychological researcher and former psychology professor turned marriage and family therapist. But I spent over a decade of my life studying not romantic relationships, but romantic attraction. More specifically, I studied non-disclosed romantic attraction. That is, secret crushes. And I also studied what I called tacit rejection. That is when the person that you're crushing on doesn't overtly tell you to piss off, but they also don't respond to your romantic advances in any meaningful way, leaving you wondering, WTF? If you have any further questions or comments on this matter, if you want to see more videos on this topic, I will be glad to do it, as I wrote an entire dissertation on the topic. But this is a makeup video, I think. Can I actually make this relate to makeup? Well, I'm sure as hell gonna try. So here's the scenario. Just go with me. You're on trend mood. You see an item, you think it's lovely, you feel like you can probably financially swing it, so there's a good degree of certainty that you can actually obtain it. But is there any degree of certainty that it will actually work for you? So you've got high hopes of getting it, some uncertainty about how it's actually going to work out. This is kind of like meeting somebody, thinking they're hot, thinking maybe there might have been a spark, but not being entirely sure that there was a spark on their part. So hope plus some degree of uncertainty usually equals raging attraction. That assertion is based on psychological research that originated in the late 60s and early 70s, but has since been not exactly replicated, but the findings are supported by modern research. And the findings essentially state that subjective reports of romantic attraction using the passionate love scale, a validated instrument used to measure romantic attraction, are going to be a little bit higher when the subject is uncertain of their crush's degree of reciprocity. In other words, they're uncertain of the level of attraction that their crush has for them. So that begs the question, does certainty of reciprocity kill romantic attraction? Some would say yes, the research says no. It just moves it into a more comfortable place where you are not tortured with the turmoil of will they or won't they. So basically it doesn't burn as bright, but it feels a hell of a lot better. You see, imaginary passion, not real world passion, but imaginary passion, burns more brightly in your mind because that's where it lives. It's trapped in your mind. It can't get out. It doesn't live in the real world. So it turns into a fireball inside of your skull until you actually get off your ass and ask the hottie out, or you start a weeping and a wailing to your friends about unrequited love and the torture of your crush until they stop talking to you. So let's talk about what happens if you actually get off your ass and ask that hottie out. Well, maybe they say yes. You go out, you determine if there's really a spark. Or they could give you a hard no, in which case maybe you cry, maybe you rage, maybe you get wasted. At any rate, you're sad, you're hurt, you're pissed off, you get over it. But what's behind door number 3? This is the worst of the worst. The other option is that they could poison you with hope. It's not a great time for me to be dating right now. It's not you, it's me. You're such a nice person. I'm so flattered. Could I think about it for a while? How about I call you a little bit later? I'm moving to Yemen. Otherwise, I would totally go out with you. So can you possibly maybe get romantically involved with this person in the future at some point? Maybe. Or is this person entirely unattainable? You don't know. But the uncertainty did not create the wanting, the desire, the attraction. The attraction was already there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been interested or asked the person out in the first place. The uncertainty made the existing attraction spiral out of control. But what happens if you get a hard pass? An absolutely not, a no way in hell, a piss off? Well, if that increases your level of attraction, I would have to sit there and talk to you to determine if there's any kind of going on, but it might be an ego issue. Maybe you're trying to prove something to your peers. Maybe you're trying to prove something to the fool who rejected you. Maybe you're trying to prove something to yourself. Maybe it's a quest. Maybe it's a conquest. There are a million different things, but the bottom line is that a hard pass is easier to deal with than a, not right now, but maybe, but thank you for asking. That is why so many people sit on their asses and do absolutely nothing when they have a raging crush on somebody, because a hard no is the death of hope, and hope feels fabulous. It's an addiction. You start seeing signs everywhere that you are meant to be with this person. Everything reminds you of that person. That hope is your drug. If you look at an fMRI image of a brain in love and then look at an fMRI image of a brain on cocaine, they are virtually identical. So a hard and clear and not open to interpretation, hell no, basically takes away your drug of choice. I'm talking about hope. And that is why so many people, according to my limited research, remain completely silent when they are head over heels, obsessively in love with somebody. And now the behaviorist in me wants to come out and play. So let's talk about reinforcement. You know those signs that I just mentioned when you see signs everywhere that you were meant to be with that person? Well, those are reinforcers that your brain is generating. But sometimes you get reinforcers from the person that you're crushing on. Maybe they call you from time to time. Maybe they throw you a pity screw here and there. Maybe it's not even a pity screw. Maybe it's just a casual screw that is casual to them, but it means the universe to you. Again, reinforcers. And maybe it's not even something as big as a screw. Maybe it's not even as big as a phone call. Maybe it's just a polite hello in the hallway if you have a crush on a coworker. Those are reinforcers. And behaviorists call this type of reinforcement, this type of unpredictable, erratic reinforcement, a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement. And that schedule of reinforcement is the most effective at perpetuating behavior. And the fact that that schedule of reinforcement is so effective at perpetuating the behavior makes the behavior last a long, long time. In other words, it makes it very difficult to extinguish that behavior, to quit, to go off the drug. And all of this culminates in what I call, what everybody calls, the partial reinforcement extinction effect. So since you never know when you're going to get that reward, that little shot of dopamine, you keep engaging in the behavior. In this case, the behavior is hoping, or maybe it's obsessing. In my research, I called it yearning. Oh, that's right. This is supposed to be a makeup video. Okay, makeup, right. So makeup purchases are always on a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement. Granted, it's not perfectly analogous to the romantic woes that I just talked about, but it's not far off. Every makeup purchase is a roll of the dice. Every romantic gesture is a roll of the dice. With makeup, it would be you get it, you use it, it works for you, you love it, you look beautiful, so that's rewarding. But we all know that every purchase isn't like that. With attraction, it might be they like you back, you have sex, you go out, you have fun. It's rewarding, but you never know if it's going to work out that way. But what are the consequences? So with makeup purchases, maybe the consequences could be your bank account suffers, or your shelf space suffers. Maybe your face suffers because the product is horrible and it breaks you out or it looks bad on you. Maybe the people around you suffer because they have to look at the regrettable purchase on your face. With romantic attraction, with making a move on somebody that you like, usually the worst thing that happens is that your pride might get a little bit wounded. Now, I'm not talking about relationships here. Relationships, that's a whole different area of research. And relationships, yes, there are way more consequences than just wounded pride when an attraction turns into a relationship. That's what bankrolls my makeup addiction. So when we find ourselves obsessing, I mean really hardcore obsessing over a makeup product, see, I really am relating this to makeup. I promised you that I would. It's usually something that we can probably have. We hope we can have it. It seems feasible in theory, but we're not quite sure if it will work for us. Or, in other cases, it's limited edition. And in even worse cases, it's discontinued. So in my next video, I will be talking about everybody's favorite makeup topic, FOMO. And that wraps up this video for today. As always, thank you so very much for joining me. Follow me on Instagram. I will follow you back. Throw me a pity like, give me some encouragement to make some more videos. Very special shout out to you if you were watching this video on the toilet. And until next time, enjoy your joy responsibly.